Bob Lilly, number 74, was the foundation on which the Dallas Doomsday defense was built, playing defensive tackle at a level previously unseen in the NFL.
Bob Lilly was by far the best of the best. He was really exceptional in terms of his ability, his knowledge of the game. He was just a great ball player.
As the Cowboys' first ever draft pick, Lilly carried the weight of franchise expectations on his broad shoulders. His efforts propelled Dallas on its quest for a championship. But the biggest disappointment was still to come. In Super Bowl V, a multitude of turnovers put the Colts in position to steal the championship. The game's two enduring images were Jim O'Brien's leaping celebration and Bob Lilly's spontaneous gesture of disgust.
We really were a better team than Baltimore that year, and Bob was just frustrated at the end of the game, as everyone was. Here we came so close again.
That's what all the publications said, Dallas Cowboys bridesmaids of the NFL. I'll never forget that title as long as I live. One goal, that was to go back to the Super Bowl and win it.
Lilly led the way in 1971 as the Cowboys tried one more time to win it all. Against the Dolphins in Super Bowl VI, next year's champions finally claimed football's ultimate prize. Lilly and the Doomsday defense dominated Miami, holding them to a field goal. He put the exclamation point on that championship with a sack that remains the longest in Super Bowl history.
Well, top of the evening, top of the Sunday evening. It's your friendly streaming crew on Built Different Group. I am BG, and that is my girl over there, KELZ. With
Hello.
74 days away, we are a Mr. Cowboy away from Thursday Night Football. We do have a little bit of Cowboys news to share here with y'all this week. So if you're not doing anything on any of the three channels we're tapped in on right now, shout out to everybody on Facebook, shout out to everybody on LinkedIn and on YouTube. If you're tapping in, give us a comment and let us know, as we're going to be talking all things Bob Lilly. Now, you've had a chance to meet Mr. Cowboy. Is that right?
I did. I met him quite a few times.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that picture that's all in the corner down there. What was that experience like there? He seems to have a big old smile on his face.
Okay, so that first picture, I met him for the October 2017 game during the 3-day weekend. And that was like my first fan zone event. So shout out to
event. Okay. Yeah, shout out to sisters, yeah.
Bowen and fan zone. So that was my first fan zone event. That was hold on, it was called the Ultimate.
It was one of the fan zones events there. Yeah.
Tailgate thing, but it was really the tailgate with Hall of Famers, Cowboy Hall of Famers.
Was she doing that over there at the Bill Bates building? Was that where it was at?
It was like a banquet hall.
Yeah, I think that's where it was
Collins
at.
Avenue.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's the first place I seen TLC over there. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's what's his name? I just said his name. Anyway, that's his tailgate place over there. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but we went to Bill Bates a little bit later.
Okay.
But this one was, I forgot who this one was by. But anyway, this particular tailgate had the filming crew for ESPN when they did the We Are the Fans.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So
We the Fans.
So I was spotlighted in there.
Okay.
Myself and Justin Sion was in a dance.
Justin Sion, yeah, I remember Justin, yeah.
We was in a dance battle. So,
okay.
Yeah, so we both won and everything. So that was fun. So I met Bob Lilly, and I met God rest his soul, Rayful Wright.
Right.
There.
Wow, that was an awesome event. That was your first fan zone experience, you said, huh?
That was my first fan zone experience. That was my first time meeting him.
Okay.
And then I've met him years after that, through the CSA shows.
Right. Now, what's something that he may have shared with you in any of your conversations that really stuck with you that comes from the first Cowboy to ever be drafted for the franchise?
He said that it was just an honor of being the first Cowboy, and just to have that name, Mr. Cowboy.
No.
So he holds it with so much weight. The last time I saw him was at the CSA show. I want to say that was the October 2024 show. I think that's the one he was at.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about the state of the team, and he just said, it was sad to see how that season was going, and he was like, some changes needs to be made.
Sounds like some changes like we need to make too as well, because he played defensive tackle for the Doomsday Defense, where we've been talking about too as well. Are the Cowboys fit at defensive tackle? And just that, it's a great segue in case you hadn't been paying attention. There have been a couple of signings during this last week. We want to recap you with the Cowboys out there getting some depth on the roster. They had a cornerback and a DT signing. Shout out to cornerback Robert Rochelle. No, it wasn't Jair Alexander, but we got Robert Rochelle, cornerback. We got some depth at the cornerback because there was some news. Well, it wasn't news. There was some fake news that broke. I don't know if you heard that or not, KELZ, about Siobhan Revel. Some injury. Somebody was trying to report something they thought they knew, but it was wrong, and they had to come back and walk it down. Yeah, and then we also signed defensive tackle Perion Winfrey from the UFL League. So the Cowboys dipping their toes in the UFL League again at defensive tackle. Now I'm going to go grab this depth chart on ESPN with the Dallas Cowboys. But can you tell us anything about these two players? Are these just camp bodies, depth signings, or do you think that maybe this defensive tackle got some shot at getting some run here behind maybe Mozzie Smith?
So when we talked about it, the last show we had to conclude the mini camp, I did mention that they signed 5 players. 2 came from the UFL, and they were top talents. And just looking at tape and some other stuff, I knew Perion Winfrey would definitely be a signing because of his resume.
Gotcha.
During his UFL career with the Birmingham Stallions, he had 29 tackles and a sack this season for the UFL.
Right. So I got the ESPN depth chart and signing at defensive tackle. So that now puts us at let's take a look at here on the defense. Defensive tackle. There we go. Mozzie Smith on the left tackle, left defensive tackle. Right side is Osa. You got Jay, the rookie we just drafted. Solomon Thomas, the guy that looks like he's on juice coming out of the gym. He looks pretty buff. Then Denzel Daxon, Tommy Akingboste, and then Ernest Brown. And then it looks like Winfrey may fill that 4th position there at the defensive tackle level. So with that being said, on Bob Lilly days today, do you think we're going to see any more movement in free agency during, this gap between now and camp? Because the NBA getting ready to be over after today. Well, in a couple minutes anyway.
Yeah. We have until, like I said, November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So
yeah. So no big trades, no big moves or nothing like that. We're getting ready to get into, and and I know as well as everybody tapping in here today, we getting ready to hear everybody getting the Micah trade rumors are probably getting ready to get amped up over the next 30 days, I would think, because we're 31 days away from when the Cowboys report to Oxnard in California. And this is that long gap, where like players get in trouble. One of the things I seen on some of the Cowboys videos was Aaron Whitecotton, the defensive line coach. I looked at some of that video over there, and he was telling them, look, this is, this gap between, where we're wearing T-shirts and shorts and we're going into camp with pads. And, let's be smart about that, because players can get out there and go on fishing cruises and boat cruises and things like that. And then, we hear things and stuff like that, but I don't anticipate that because I don't even think Dak's going to go fishing because he just had his second baby, right? So he's going to be at home playing daddy.
So if anything, he'll probably just more than likely keep it local.
So we won't be seeing Dak in Mexico with a boot on this year, fishing in Mexico.
Nope.
Hey, I'll be in Alaska. I won't have no boots on, but I'll be in Alaska next week. Shout out to my guy RC up in AK, the coldest fan I know. We got Gaffed, Great Alaskan Fishing Trip 2.0 coming up, but we're catching you up on these Dallas Cowboys here today. So talking defensive tackle, because that Doomsday defense, man, if You know, we were ranked 28th last season at stopping the run. If the Dallas Cowboys could get in the top half of stopping the run, I think we have a pretty decent chance, especially with George Pickens now on this offense. But we still got a long way to go. And I know you and I are probably going to brainstorm and kick some things around and probably iron out like a 53-man roster at some point. So folks can look forward to that. So if you have questions right now while you have us, shoot them up in there in the comments. This is a Sunday exclusive edition as we're 74 days away from Thursday Night Football, talking Bob Lilly. If you got a Bob Lilly memory, share it in the comments. We'll highlight it and talk about it. But
Felipe, I need for you to clarify what you're talking about. Run on offense or defense?
You say we running or gunslinging? Oh, I think he's talking about offense. Are we running the ball or slinging it? I think it's going to be running the ball.
Yeah, you're like 6 months late.
No, he's been hanging out here. I think he's just, trying to see if there's any new movement on that. But I think it's still running the ball. That's all we've been hearing.
A running game offense. The only thing that has not been said that might more than likely will be said during the opening press conference for training camp is what kind of offense we're going to be running. We're not doing the West Coast offense.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has any film. Nobody knows what kind of offenses this is, but we know based on what we've shared here, we've been talking about this after Shotty was hired. He went out and got his staff. He went and grabbed some coaches, especially offensive line coaches, offensive-minded coaches that like to run the ball. We went and got Clayton Adams. You remember what Clayton Adams did in Arizona with running the damn ball out there. They had a couple of good running backs out there, I think, for fantasy football. I can't remember their names, but, I mean, even Kyler Murray was running the ball a little bit. They ran the ball pretty well. They dominated the line of scrimmage. So I expect us to run the ball. But I think the question is going to be, who's going to be the clear-cut RB1, or are we running back by committee pretty much this season? Because we still got to figure out who's going to make this 53-man roster at the running back position, KELZ.
Yeah, honestly, to me, the rate that is going, and I hate it. It looks like it is going to be running back by committee. But I think I think the only difference is they're going to be showcasing the talents of that running back group based on who we're playing.
Yeah, so it's basically, we need a bowling ball. We might call up, I guess, Phil Maffa and Miles Sanders maybe. And if it's we trying to run the ball, maybe we're going to get Jaden out there, maybe pass the ball a little to the rookie or whatnot. But this is why I've been talking about this. There is no clear-cut running back one in Dallas. And if you play fantasy football like I play fantasy football, and I know you play fantasy football, KELZ, only two players I'm touching is CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Aubrey, the best kicker in the league. I don't know. I ran with Tony Pollard a couple of seasons. I ran with Rico Dowdle last season. I'd like to try to run those running backs with the Cowboys to stay, ahead of what's going on. But we drafted two rookies. We got two other vets, and we got Deuce Vaughn, a guy who's hired, who folks think his dad got him the job. And then we got Hunter Lipke, undrafted free agent. He still got to make the team, and is a fullback. I think this is the biggest conundrum going into camp right here. If we're going to run the ball, who is it going to be? But like my girl KELZ says, I think it's going to be based on matchups, right? That would be the smart move. Hey, if they're loading up the box on, if they're giving us this on this defense, let's go give them that. I think that's one thing about our offense last season, that it was really predictable. Our offense was really predictable. Folks could really figure out what we're getting ready to do by the way our sets, because we didn't have no pre-snap motion. None of that stuff. But what I'm hearing, and I think I know you're hearing too, is we're getting ready to see a whole lot of bells and whistles. Just to remind you, we've seen Kavontae Turpin playing running back. We've seen Hunter Lipke at tight end that reported coming out of OTAs. And then we've seen Deuce Vaughn at wide receiver. That's kind of interesting.
Now, I don't know if anybody watches any of the shows that's on the Cowboys radio. You could go on their YouTube, but it was the last episode of the Blitz before they break for their the vacation before training camp. They showed a video of Shotty calling a play. He said, we're going to run this play, but we're going to kill it. and he did the commands for it to see how the team was going to react. So he was talking, of course, they had Jack Sanborn, he had the blue dot, Lord,
green dot.
green dot helmet,
With you.
and he did the plays with all three quarterbacks. So he did the play, and then he said, we're going to kill it here. And then they did it.
Okay.
So they're showing, they didn't show everything, but they did show shot.
There's definitely some new looks compared to what we've seen in offenses of old. Because to me, it just seems too much like maybe, I don't know, the Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy. I don't know. Maybe I think Kellen Moore may have had more impact on the Cowboys offense than any of the head coaches between Garrett and McCarthy. Because, I mean, under Kellen Moore, we led the league in one season in points, I think, right? And then we were second in another out of the 4 years that he was there. Now he's gone. Went to Philly, got a ring, and now he's a head coach down in New Orleans. But I mean, would you agree that Kellen Moore was probably the most creative guy there? And I think he got pushed back.
He was creative at a certain extent. Like he will dump out the whole bag in 1 to 2 games. And then when it gets to like week 3, week 4, there's already enough film for the teams that we are playing to see what's happening. And then when they match up with us and they're basically obliterating whatever play that Kellen Moore has, it was no answer to it, because Kellen Moore will dump the whole bag out instead of mixing and doing some things here on this game and some things on that, some things on another game. He didn't spread the wealth.
Got you. But this quote here is the one that I'll be holding Brian Schottenheimer foot to the fire as he came in. This was on hiring day when he did his presser, and he said, per quote, "I know the players, the building, our strengths, our weaknesses, our issues, and I want it even more." And I know he's looking at that offense like, ooh, I finally got the keys to this blue Lambo with all of these gadgets in here. Now I got all 6 running backs I get to pick from. He got a whole dozen wide receivers. He got probably arguably the best duo in the league right now on the receiver side of the ball. But it's the defense side of the ball. Like we said, we were 28 at stopping the run last season. I think with this, as we talk about Bob Lilly today, defensive tackles that we got, I think we're going to see some promise. I've been looking at this depth chart and been studying, like, why do they have it positioned a certain way? When you go and look at it, they get Jay Toya, the rookie that we drafted, right, who was supposed to be the best defensive tackle in the league, is starting behind Mozzie Smith.
I like Toya.
Could Toya potentially beat out Mozzie for the one spot? Did we see Toya getting any team first team reps in OTAs? Did you hear anything about that?
Toya he did a couple with one. He did a couple of series with the ones, and he did some with the twos.
Okay. So maybe that's just that's some motivation there as you take a look at this depth chart. As I pop it back up here, it's got Jay Toia, as KELZ corrected me there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean no disrespect on the big Samoan guy's name there, but Jay Toia behind Mozzie. And, we got Big Osa, who we re-signed, which was very important during free agency. We got him re-signed because if we'd have lost him, that would have been a major gap at defensive tackle. But we also picked up Solomon Thomas from the Jets. And
okay, so let me so it's going to be RDT1 and RDT1A, and Solomon Thomas is RDT1B.
Okay. I like how that sounds. Now, Sterling brings up something new, and I did hear something about this, but I'm not sure. Let me ask and throw the ball to you and see if we can put our heads together here. He says, what's all the talk about Shotty throwing McCarthy under the bus to get the head coaching job?
So we talked about that when Shotty was first hired as the coach. It wasn't so much that he threw him under the bus. What gave him the advantage of the job, and it's not he threw him under the bus. He basically said what was true, that there was a lot of plays that the offensive coaches wanted to do, but he reneged and abandoned them.
Mm.
He did not want to implement those plays, and those plays could have made a world of a difference last season.
Mm.
So it wasn't so much, and and he said that he's very fond of McCarthy, and he's he still has love for him. They're
But we
still
shared here, and I think going back,
to
you
this
shared too as
day.
well. There was some
It,
dissension, right?
yeah, they just had a difference of philosophy when it came to the team.
Yeah, the dissension, I guess, or the disagreement there was that Shotty wanted to do some different things offensively, and there was some pushback, like a Heisman there from Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's too hard to tell. I think that's just people latching on to like what they did with Siobhan Revel, trying to say, oh, the doctor said there was a miscalculation or something like that. And I know you've been tracking that too as well. But that got walked back down by 105.3 The Fan. They got it jumped on the Quick Fisher, and all of them guys said, hey, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He's still tracking. So Siobhan Revel per record is still tracking. There's not no new injury update or anything going on with him, right?
Yeah, he's still entering training camp on PUP. He's still in rehab. So he's still scheduled to be rolled out like week 3, week 4. So he's on track.
Got you. Okay. Well, I mean, other than those signings of Perion Winfrey, the defensive tackle, and our cornerback that we picked up, not too much moving, as now we are on this long stretch because the NBA, I don't know if OKC won yet or not, but I think they might win it tonight. And the NBA is officially over, but we're 31. We're only like a month away, though. We only got like this month. It's not like a long time. 31 days before the Cowboys report to Oxnard, California on the 23rd. And I think camp kicks it off on the 25th, right?
Yeah. And they actually report on the 20th instead of they're going a little bit earlier.
Okay. So reporting a little bit earlier, they're ready to get a good jump on that. So if you're definitely headed out to camp, let us know in the comments below. If you have questions about anything while you're tuning in, especially on any of the 3 channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, on YouTube, give us a comment. Let us know you're kicking. It's a Sunday exclusive edition as we recap the news from the Cowboys week, and also Countdown 74. Man, I got a big day today, Mr. Cowboy. Shout out to my guy, Mike Rock, the Gym Rat of the Year for 2023. We'll be on tomorrow with Big Larry Allen. That's right. We'll be a Big Larry Allen away. So RIP at Larry Allen. If you want to tap in tomorrow, we'll be live talking all things Larry. But today we're on Mr. Cowboy, and you got to meet him several times. I'm jealous. I haven't met Mr. Cowboy once yet.
Yeah, he good dude.
Yeah, originally from Olney, Texas. Let's just take a look at some of the things on Bob Lilly. Originally from Olney, Texas, but he graduated high school in Pendleton, Oregon.
Yep.
Yeah, then he went to Texas Christian University.
Yep.
That's Mr. Cowboy right there. Yeah, he's through and through Cowboy for real. First Cowboy ever drafted. First Cowboy to ever get inducted into the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. So I did pull up some of the notable training camp dates. So they on July 20th they report to camp. Saturday, August 2nd is the blue and white practice.
Mm-hmm.
August 5th, that's when the Rams.
Yeah, that's the Rams practice.
And then the first preseason game at SoFi is the 9th.
The 9th at the Rams. So yeah, I plan on being there probably the day before August 4th, before the Rams. Because I got to go down there and I got to see, as we talk about this running back squad with the Dallas Cowboys, because I got to see who's going to get there. I mean, everybody's drinking the Jaden Blue Kool-Aid. Like, that's all I see everywhere is everybody seems to think. And I know you've already came out and shared it. We already showed the depth chart here. It's Javonte Williams, then Miles Sanders, then Jaden Blue. And then Deuce Vaughn, or was it Deuce Vaughn? Who's on that? Let me go. Who's the fourth one on there? Deuce Vaughn. That's right. And so Hunter Lipke not on there. Who else is not on there?
Phil Maffa,
the rookie. So yeah, there's going to be a couple of, because normally we carry 4. We carry at least 3 running backs and a fullback during the 53-man roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is fullback going to be out? I mean, Hunter's on the last year of his deal. I mean, somebody got to go to practice squad. We can't take 6 running backs on a 53-man roster, can we?
No, they might stash a running back somewhere.
Okay. Mike Olszewski's if I'm saying your name right, don't get me to saying it wrong, brother. But I appreciate you tapping in. That's my bottle of Crown winner right there. He claimed the crown on my Patreon. Shout out to him. He says, trivia question. How did the Dallas Cowboys earn the nickname? And you asking the crowd, baby. So if anybody's tapping in, because I know me and my girl KELZ know.
Yeah,
we know how they got the name.
We already did a show about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but appreciate you tapping in. That's right. If you know how we got the name, you know how we got the name. Tell us in the comments below. We appreciate you tapping in on 74 days. Man, I mean, I'm getting ready to go to Alaska this week. After that, that whole week will be gone. We'll be in July. I mean, you know, when are we going to break down? When is a good time for us to maybe break down and submit a 53-man roster prediction here on BDG so we can do it with everybody and everybody can get familiar with, you know, how would you look at, you know, players that are going to make the 53-man roster versus not?
Well, I normally do like an initial one after the first preseason game. I do one after every preseason game. That's what right. I do.
Yeah, no, I remember you doing something like that last year. You were like their job interviews, right? Yeah, they're going for job interviews.
Do you want this check or no?
Yeah, do you want this check or no? There we go.
Do you want this check or no? That's what I call preseason.
Do you want this check or nah? So yeah, 53-man roster. We got 91 going in. Is there any news updates on the international pathway player names or anything like that?
Nope, okay. Not yet.
So we'll go through we'll have that practice with the Rams there in training camp. Then we'll have our first preseason game at SoFi. I know there's going to be a ton of Cowboy fans down there. There's a ton of Cowboy fans in Los Angeles. I look forward to hearing about all the events. So make sure you tune in, turn on your notifications here. I'll be sharing that information on my Patreon and on Build Different Group. But yeah, after that first Rams preseason game, so then I guess what, that Sunday, maybe that Monday, Tuesday, sometime during that week, we can come and take a first review of who's on the hot seat and who's not then.
Yeah. And of course I'm gonna get a lot of stuff leading up, you know, while training camp is going on. Right. I want to say that second full week of training camp, that's when they're going to be in pads. That's what I want to say.
Well, I would think, yeah, that's during when they got the training, they got the scrimmage with the Rams, right? That week they'll be in pads, I would think.
Yeah, but I want to say that's like the third week though.
Yeah, I think that's the second or the third week though. So yeah. And then are they coming back? They're also going to move it from Oxnard like they normally do back into Frisco because we got the Rams first,
like that last couple of weeks.
Because isn't the last two preseason games at home too as well?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think maybe that last week, but they'll probably transfer, go home and play that game. And I think after that they might be in Texas, but we'll have more information on that as they split up camp because, you know, folks in Texas want to see it. There's going to be a ton of Cowboy fans out there in Oxnard. I was down there last year. I plan on being there again, get my eyes on this running back crew because definitely I'm concerned, especially for fantasy purposes. But if you're tapping in, let us know. What's your favorite Bob Lilly memory? Mine was just the doomsday defense. I mean, the dude he was getting double and triple teamed every play. Think about that. If Micah's getting double and triple teamed every play, that means at least a guy is open somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody's open somewhere. Make a play.
Yep.
And the Cowboys ranking at 28 last season at being able to stop the run, man, that is atrocious. And I know our defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, is coming back. You know, he loves him some linebackers.
Yeah, that's his thing.
We've been talking about this, though. Why does everybody report on Micah Parsons? Even Fanatics is doing this, saying he's a linebacker. I thought he's a defensive edge.
He's a defensive end because he was drafted as a linebacker.
It's kind of confusing because I know when we get to pay Micah, it's going to be the edge position, right?
Yeah.
And I know you said we got till November to pay him, and technically we ain't really got to pay him, but I think something may happen. But I guess the next question would be if Micah doesn't get a contract.
We have until November if we want to sign an extension. He's already under contract.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah, we got till November to extend him, or if not, he could play on this last contract. But my question to you is, in that position, if he don't get a contract before camp, do you think we're going to see Micah hold in, or is Micah going to participate like Dak did last season with no deal going into?
If he want to lose, what was it? Was it 500,000?
Yeah, but we seen Zach Martin go through the same thing. Zach Martin got fined, and they just kind of washed it in the deal and took care of it. So, but I mean, Micah really technically was kind of a hold in during OTAs, even though it was voluntary. But that mandatory minicamp, he did not do all of the prescribed drills.
Yeah. Well, OTAs, he was out. I mean, I forgot that his birthday is in May.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, he was out of the country. So I'm not jumping on him for that. But mandatory, I mean, he was there for mandatory. I mean,
yeah, he showed up. He said he's going to be at camp. Now, being at camp and practicing at camp is going to be two different things. And I sure hope he plans on suiting up at camp, because we ain't got time to be wasting around with this contract as we talk about trying to be able to stop the run. If we can't get Micah under contract and he's a hold in and distract, that's going to be a big ass distraction in training camp. We do not.
Yeah, but see, with his position, I mean, it would be more so of Mozzie stopping the run. The way that they have built Micah in, he always go after the quarterback.
Yeah, as Mike says, Micah does move all over the place, but he's listed as a defensive end, which matters because on a contract deal, defensive end market is lower market than linebacker market.
It's
correct?
not. Yeah, it's not a high market as a linebacker.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because, for one, if he's getting paid at the edge position, that's less money than he could get at linebacker. Then we're hearing it doesn't matter where he's at. He's going to get the biggest contract. He'll be the highest non-paid quarterback in the league. But then you got TJ Watt coming out. There's a lot of things, a lot of shaking moving. Like I said, get ready in the next couple of weeks. We're probably going to see Micah Parsons wants to be traded. As speaking of trades, I know we got the NBA going down. I think somebody just said the Thunder was up by 20, but I heard Kevin Durant got traded to the Houston Rockets. And then at the Fanatics event where Kevin Durant found out about it, Micah was there, and he told Micah he's trying to recruit him to DC because, Durant is from DC.
Yeah, okay.
So Durant is already on the recruiting trail for Micah at the Fanatics event today as he found out he's getting traded to the Houston Rockets. So I thought that was pretty interesting as, the Fanatics Fest is going around. Micah's got that deal with Fanatics, and he's running around doing all of that. But, yeah, because I know that Kevin Durant's a big-time Dan Quinn fan and a Commander fan. He's been repping all the way back, if you go back to the Thunder, when it used to be Westbrook and Durant, because, Westbrook is a Cowboys fan, so he was always going back and forth with Kevin Durant about DC and the NFC East. So, we'll just make sure we throw that in there. I thought that was some interesting news because there's really not a whole lot of news as we're on this long break. But I wanted to make sure we came and recapped here today on 74 Day.
James Beatty said that he met Bob Lilly and he signed this ball.
Sure did. Yeah, we got him up there. Appreciate that, James. Thank you. That's great information. We also had a post in our group. A lot of folks are commenting on it as well. Micah moves all over the field. Yeah, we already got to that. He says, hey, what do you guys think about Dez Bryant eligible for the Hall of Fame? Yeah, I asked Stoney this question yesterday, and I don't know about Dez Bryant. I mean, me personally, I don't think Dez gets in.
Nah, he ain't gonna get in.
I think if it's between Jason and Dez, I wish both of them would get in, because if either one of them get in, I'm going to the Hall of Fame next August. So let Jason fuck around. Let Darren Woodson fuck around and get in. I'll be there too. But I think Woody and I think Witten would make it before Dez Bryant. Although Dez Bryant is the all-time leader in touchdown receptions for the Cowboys at 73. But I mean, there's no ring. I think that same conversation for Tony Romo. Isn't Tony Romo eligible? Wasn't he eligible last year? Wasn't
he? Yeah.
But yeah, Tony Romo, that's a tough argument there too. But yeah, great question talking about Dez Bryant. I don't think he gets in. Do you think Dez Bryant gets in this go round, or do you think he gets in at all?
I don't think he's gonna get in at all.
It's gonna be a tough go, but sure love Dez. Throw up the X out there. That's a great question.
Love him. I mean, I love him dearly because he was a Cowboys, but nah.
Sterling's tapping back in and says, as long as that man has a playbook and is shape enough to get game ready, let that man do his thing. Yeah, not a lot of people think that way. Not a lot of people think that way. And it's really tough, especially speaking from a military experience. Like if one person does something different than the rest of the team gonna look at the leader like, why do they get to do that? Even though there may be some expectations and some different parameters there around this particular, maybe because this guy does all the fucking work all the time and you don't, that's why he's leaving. But there's always a method to the madness. But I agree with you. Micah's always ready to go. He's always showing up in shape, but that's a big but. If he holds in
Felipe
at camp.
Yeah, Felipe, Jason Witten was man of the year, but that's not a big emphasis as far as like getting into Hall. Okay, so
that's a good resume. Yeah, it's good for his resume, but
let me tell you something about the Hall, what I do know about the Hall of Fame, because I had to get nosy a little bit.
Oh.
There's such a backlog right now of people, of alumni that should have been in the Hall
Darren Woodson
decades ago.
Ed Too Tall Jones.
That they're now putting in.
Harvey Martin.
And then there's some players that
Randy White.
Yeah. Randy White's in the Hall.
Oh, Randy's in already. Never mind. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad, master.
Yeah. Oh, I know he's in the Hall.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then there's some players that have been blackballed and everything. So with
like Drew Pearson took 33 years to get in,
right? And
maybe one.
He should have been in when Tony Dorsett went in.
What is it? Is it against the Cowboys or is it league wide with players and stuff like that?
Well, it's not only against the Cowboys. When you have outspoken players, even though they're right with everything that they have said, you know how sometimes truth hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But when the truth gets told on you, a lot of people will like to hold that against you, and then they will back you into a corner and make sure that you won't get in. So you have that, and then you have people, then you have voters.
So politics.
Yes, and then you have voters in the Hall that don't have knowledge of certain players in those glory days that's in, that were in the 90s. And we're not only talking about Cowboy related stuff, we're just talking about period. So it's a lot of things that is going against a lot of these athletes that should be in the Hall. So you have the backlog, then you have 4 players. You have 4 alumni that was just inducted into the Hall, which I think should not be in the Hall, maybe 2 of them, but some of them could have waited. Darren Woodson, I think he has maybe 3 or 4 more votes for him to be considered a modern day player.
Yeah. I think Bob said on another show, I think he's got 3 more goals. I think he's got 3 more goals at it before he goes to some senior board or something like that.
He'll go into the senior selection.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Drew Pearson. Drew Pearson really aged. He aged out of modern day time frame, and then he was in the senior selection. But there's a lot of players that should have been in, like Everson Walls should be in. Darren Woodson should be in. Nate Newton should be in.
Ed Too Tall Jones.
Ed Too Tall Jones should
Harvey Martin. I think Harvey Martin, before they recorded sacks, I think he had the most sacks in the NFL ever.
Anybody that was with the Doomsday defense during the Landry Day should be in the Hall, and he's one of them. Mark Tuney needs to be in the Hall. Doug Williams needs to be in the Hall. Arch Manning, the Manning's daddy, should be in
Arch
the
Manning
Hall.
Ain't even in the Hall. That's interesting to know. I didn't know that.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a bunch of
it's a bunch of politics. I got it.
It's a bunch. It's not only it's a bunch of politics. It's a bunch of racism. It's a bunch of
politics. Yeah, I mean that's the best way to sum it up. It's just a lot of politics with people not wanting to let people get a run on it. Just like they had to create the salary cap for Jerry Jones because he figured out a way to pay the big bucks for players, and now the Hall of Fame has got a bottleneck on it for players getting in. As you hear KELZ talking about, some players just aged out of their modern day era which is sad because it took my guy 33 years to get in. But Vondell does bring up a great point as we get back to Bob Lilly on this defensive tackle front. He says, are we trading or are we done? We need that DT who can stop the run. I think if you go take a look at this depth chart, Vondell, I think we pretty much got who we got. We're going to get who we get and not throw a fit because I don't see anything happening. And if it does, I'd be surprised. And, you know, we'd come right back here and share it with you once it happens. If you take a look at this defensive tackle depth chart here with you got Mozzie and Osa up front, left and right. Then you got Jay Solomon behind them, Denzel, Tommy King Basote, who we drafted, and then Ernest Brown. And then we let somebody go. I think we let a cornerback go and somebody else to make room for those two signings we got this week. But we got that open space there. It don't look like we're got any more open spaces for DTs. But
yeah,
that's just the way the roster looks. That could change day to day, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be some moving and shaking during training camp and preseason. So I would not be surprised if they will release a player or two that is like a practice player, you know, practice squad.
Yeah, because they're going to stash guys from the 91 that we don't keep onto the practice roster so they could funnel them back through for injuries and things. They got this musical chairs.
As trading, and like I said, as far as for trading purposes, we have until November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. I think it's going to be all as quiet over the next 31 days before the Cowboys get to Oxnard. And then once we get to Oxnard, then the big question is going to be, yeah, Micah's here, but is Micah playing? And y'all going to have to turn on your notifications because that's going to be a moving target, just like everything else is with our Cowboys today as we celebrate Bob Lilly, 74 days away, man. This clock, I mean, once we got under 100, it seemed like it's just been rolling now.
Yep. And we have $32,108,682 of cap space. So we
say that again. Say that again. We have how much?
$32,108,682.
I wonder how much we had this time around last year. Probably not that much, huh?
We didn't have this. No.
Yeah, we got to be sitting. We got to be sitting a little bit better right now, especially after going and getting that wide receiver 2 with George Pickens.
So let me tell you what we had. I'm gonna tell you what we had last year. Okay. Before training camp, not before training camp, before free agency, we had less than $8 million.
Ooh.
Then when the post one came in and some of those contracts was lifted and everything, and we restructured a few and stuff, we went into June with $16 million because we had to have at least $13 million of cap space just for drafting purposes.
Oh yeah, to be able to sign the rookies, huh? Yeah.
So that's why some of them free agent signings we had was very shaky.
Speaking of which, because I thought there was one of the rookies we didn't get signed. Did all of our rookies get signed? I know Booker was first to be signed, and
the only one is Ezaraku.
Oh, so still no Ezaraku yet. I wonder what's the holdup on his contract.
Nothing really. It's not like I can say it's not like what's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals with
Not like they don't want to sign him. I mean, it's not like we ain't got money. I mean, there's got to be some kind of hang up there.
No, I don't think it's nothing with the language. I think what it is his position, because not only he plays what is he, a DT?
No, defensive edge. He's
so,
edge, I believe, yeah.
But he also plays defensive tackle. That's what I'm saying. So he plays two spots.
Oh, maybe that's why they ain't signed him yet. Maybe that might be a tea leave.
So the thing is, are they going to do like what they did with Travis Hunter? He's going to be playing both positions for the Jaguars. So for the Cowboys, is it are we going to play one? Or are we going to play two? Or I think they're going to make their decision when it comes to preseason when he is lining up with the ones, because he has been practicing with the ones. Right. So is he going to be both or one? So I think it's going to come up.
So maybe that's what the hang up is there. They don't know if he's going to be on a one contract or a double contract like Travis Hunter, right? Okay,
Yeah,
that makes a little bit more sense. That'd be very interesting. I'm gonna be tracking that. I wanna find out how that goes because I mean, yeah, I hope we don't get too cute.
because
I hope we don't get too cute.
he's been the highlight of OTAs and
Yeah.
the mandatory minicamp, and from the videos that I have seen and everything, he's almost like Micah. He is all over the
Mm.
field.
Yeah, and I heard Sam Williams was beating Micah to the bag, on the get off out there, which has got to be good news, especially for big Sam Slam Williams fans, man. Because look, man, we get
Oh yeah,
Demo
he just
back.
had his a fashion show for his new clothing line.
Yeah,
I did see that today.
yeah. And shout out to Demo. I think Demo just had a baby boy. I think they named him Texas out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, all the players having them babies. It's that time of years. We got 31 days before camp. We got 74 days before the kickoff. We appreciate everybody joining us here this evening on a Bob Lilly. That's my girl KELZ. We've been talking about the signings that happened over the week. We had a couple of signings, a cornerback and a DT. It looks like all the holes are filled. I don't anticipate much more action over the next 31 days until I think the next action we're probably going to be talking about is Micah at camp and is he participating. I think that's going to be the next discussion because if he's there and he's suited up playing day one, there ain't going to be no question. Everybody's all right, Micah's at camp. He's suited up. He's playing. End of question. He knows he's going to get a deal. But if he don't got a deal by then, I know Dak was out there practicing last year, and I thought it was kind of shaky. If Dak, same thing. Dak was in camp practicing. If Dak would have got hurt last year, even though Dak still had 1 year on his deal left, he would have got that money, but he wouldn't have got re-signed.
Yeah,
I think the Cowboys would have re-signed him.
The only difference is like, and it's no shade to Micah. Dak just has a higher character, and he likes to bet on himself. Dak is all every time Dak betted on himself, he ends up on top, and it makes the organization looks like a fool.
Well, I'm gonna need him to bet on himself this season because I know Bazooka Joe waiting on his bet right in the cut because it's like Dak, you got to get it or get off the pot this season going into year 10. Ain't no excuses. George Pickens, all the bells and whistles, and especially if we get this defense like we're talking about before we close out here, this defense can come from being 28th ranked and stopping the run. If we could just be in the top half.
Yeah, but I'm not only putting a lot of stuff on that. To me, it's everybody from the ownership even to the person that is maintaining the fields. So
very much so.
It's everybody.
Oh, I agree with you. It's 100%. But looking at last year, if I'm Eberflus, I'm looking at the board like, look, dudes, this is where we was at last year. This ain't happening on my watch, and this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to go out here and practice, and we're going to get after it, and this is the way. You know what I mean? I think that's what needs to happen. But we're going to see 31 days now until we get to camp. We appreciate everybody joining us here today. You got any words of wisdom before we get out of here?
When Sterling said on paper, we filled a lot of holes, gained experience at positions.
Pretty much a recap.
System. Plus coach, so we should. Yeah, I want to see everything translate on the field. Words of wisdom. Enjoy this little break we have because I really don't think no news is going to be shooting off between now and minicamp. If it is, then of course, we'll try to do a show or whatnot. Happy birthday to my mommy. So
happy birthday, moms.
Yeah.
That's what y'all was celebrating today, right?
Yeah, her 71st birthday. So happy birthday to her and everything. So it's been a busy day.
Been a busy day. Well, I always appreciate you tapping in here because I know it's late. It's almost 11 o'clock over there. Y'all give it up for my girl KELZ. I'm BG. It's a Sunday exclusive, 74 days. Make sure you turn on your notifications. We'll be live tomorrow on Larry Allen. I'll have Mike Rock, 2023 Gym Rat of the Year, talking about his guy.
That's the only one I don't have, and he was hot on my playlist. I was not expecting him to pass as early as he did.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because I didn't see many Larry Allen pick. I ain't get a chance to meet him either, but I know my guy Mike Rock did.
That's the thing, like he really didn't do he really didn't do the CSA shows.
Nah, he was kind of to himself, I think. Yeah, if you ask me, he was all about family and being with his family and stuff like that. And so, yep. Yeah. Well, all right, y'all. Y'all have a great Sunday. Make sure y'all get y'all's laundry folded. Don't be leaving it at the end of your bed like you have been doing all this week. Stop doing all them things like that. Get your laundry done, man. You know, Dandy Don's over there by the light shit. We'll see y'all in the gym.
I might get some laundry done. Tomorrow is my last free day.
Yeah. Well, Dandy Don about to get mine because he about to hit the light switch, man. We'll see y'all in the gym on the next.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Call it a night. The party's over. And tomorrow and next year starts the same old thing again.